All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the South Texas High School Baseball Podcast. I'm here in Flour Bluff. I'm here with Mike McClendon. It's a pleasure to have you on. Javier can't be here. He's in Tomball with his guys playing this weekend, so good luck to them. Hope they do well. But, Mike, it's a pleasure to be here, pleasure to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, some background, when you started playing baseball, anything you want to add, and what you do here in Corpus. So go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Mike McClendon, born in Arlington, Texas.
Okay.
It's kind of a long story how I came down to Corpus, but actually my oldest brother was born in Corpus Christi back in the 70s.
Okay.
My dad was a city planner back when. Actually, when I was about 12 years old, whole family moved to Orlando, Florida, so spent most of my high school days, everything like that, out in Central Florida. Didn't end up back here until after playing baseball for a few years in the minor leagues. I come back home one off season. Everyone kind of moved out of Central Florida.
Yeah.
And my parents still had a condo down here in Corpus Christi.
Okay.
And I had no idea what it was about, anything like that. Didn't know the area at all. But spent a few off seasons down here and absolutely loved it.
Sweet.
Yeah, perfect weather for the off season, things like that. So once I finished playing everything like that, decided to call it home.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, we're glad that you're down here. Walk us through when you started playing baseball, around what age, if you had to guess, if you can remember, and then what that journey was like throughout high school, throughout college, and then ultimately into your professional career.
Yeah, ever since I can remember, I was probably playing wiffle ball, doing something, probably my first memory. But I had two older brothers that also played pro ball. They were older than me, so it was kind of one of those things like I had no choice, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was always doing something, whether it was in the yard with them, playing catch, even when they played pro ball, having to throw with them every day. Everything like that. I thought I was more of a position player at all times, but when both your brothers are pitchers, you kind of get forced into trying to get into that aspect. Yeah.
Definitely. I think as far as the training that you do down here in Corpus, tell us what it is that you got going on here.
Interesting how it all started. When I was done playing, I think I wanted to be as far away from the game as possible.
Really?
Yeah, didn't really want to get into it, anything like that. And then I had met Jeff Pelucio.
Yeah.
And just started asking him questions. I didn't know anything about Jeff or his background at the time. But turns out he was in pro ball too, with the Astros organization as a strength conditioning coach.
Okay.
And I had actually met him way in the past too, working out, doing something random, and this guy telling me that my squat was terrible. I was like, I don't even know this guy. But a few years later, just at a baseball field, everything like that, just start asking Jeff questions. And turn my life around, and some of the answers that he was giving me I thought almost sounded like a pitching coach to me. Best pitching coach I think I ever had, that talked about how the body worked, everything like that. And I think for 2 months straight, I would just come over to this gym, pop in, ask him questions, and then I think he got so sick and tired of it one time, he's like, why don't you just do something about it? And that's how the whole thing kind of got started with it. Very fortunate that he gave me the space, everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's just been awesome. The kids that have come in here, we try to learn from them.
Okay.
Every single guy is going to be different. And it's just, over time, it's just turned into this animal.
Yeah. And so the kind of training that you provide, is it primarily pitching? Is it for all position players? What do you got going on? What's your specialty?
I do not like pitching in
Okay.
general. So it's more just foundational of movement, throwing, things
Okay.
like that. So we do get off the mound almost every day. Even I make the position guys that ever pitch touch the mound. You never know what's going to happen, especially
For sure.
high school, things like that.
Yeah.
You got tournaments. Everyone's got to contribute on the mound. You can't just have one guy
Yeah.
try to take the workload.
Okay. Sweet. As far as your high school and college days, did you go play in college? What was that like? Were you highly touted out of high school? What did that look like? Walk us through your high school journey into college, into the pros, or I actually don't even know. I don't know if you played in college. So yeah, just give us a little bit of that background.
Yep. No, in high school, growing up, I wasn't a very natural thrower,
Okay.
as I would describe. I did have two older brothers that had played baseball, things like that. Oldest brother, I was probably the least talented in the family. My oldest brother was a first rounder, played at University of Florida. Had another brother that played at University of Miami. In high school, I was probably still the same size, about 6'5", 200 pounds or whatever, and just probably topped out at 76, things like that,
Okay.
and just not looking good, but I always loved the game. There's a small little junior college in Central Florida that I had to actually walk on to.
Okay.
And then we had some weighted ball training, stuff like that. And after doing it for 2 weeks after our fall, after probably the worst fall baseball performance you could ever put on, we went through this little training. And after that 2 weeks, I picked up a baseball and something different came out. So we were about to go into winter break. I asked the coaches if I could take the equipment home for the off season, and they allowed me to. And I think for the next 5.5 weeks, what we did for that 2 week period, I did it every day. Came back in the springtime, throwing much harder, probably that 86. I could always throw strikes, things like that. Still didn't, after my fall performance, that wasn't good. They still weren't going to trust me about getting on the field. But after 10 innings, I don't think I had given up a run, anything like that. And I think it was a coach on the other team who was like, why don't you guys just start him one day? Coaches still didn't want to put me in there. And it actually took a guy, he forgot his baseball pants at one game. And they just looked and go, well, looks like you're going to have to start today. And ever since that, I never came out of the game.
Man, so that performance, do you remember what you did? Maybe
I very rarely gave up a run in junior college. And I think out of that first outing, I went 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, something like that, no walks, and just kept on doing it. By the end of the year, I think I ended up 13-0.
Dang.
Ready to roll. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so from there, did you spend 2 years there at that college?
I spent 2 years, yeah.
Okay.
So the same thing. I got a pretty big opportunity that summertime to actually go and play in a big summer league.
Okay.
I still didn't believe that I could be drafted or move on to the next level throwing 86.
Yeah.
So, again, I kind of got addicted of getting better.
Yeah.
And training. So I actually forgone the whole summer ball thing. And ended up doing that whole training program through the whole summer, every single day, things like that. And the following year came back throwing over 90. So and the same thing, put on the same performance as I did the year before. Ended up getting drafted out of JUCO after the second year.
Gotcha.
By the Brewers. Nothing great. It was a 10th round, but I thought I was ready to go compete against guys and fight for a job.
That's awesome. So after that second year, that year that you got drafted, was there potential for you to go play at a bigger school? Were other schools looking at you? Were they offering you? Or?
Yeah. University of Houston had given me basically a full ride to go up there and play. And my brother's wife at the time was Beth McClendon, Beth Torino now. She was actually the University of Houston's pitching coach for softball.
Okay.
And now she's at LSU. She's the head coach at LSU.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it wasn't, I was more geared into the thought that I was ready to go compete.
Yeah.
But turns out, the first day of pro ball, I think I had to go to Helena, Montana, which was totally different from Central Florida.
Yeah.
Huge adjustment out of the gate. The Brewers did a great job taking care of me, my workload over that summer, and just kept on fighting year to year.
Yeah. Okay, so the minor league grind.
Oh, it's real.
How long were you in the minors? Where'd you start out? What stops were you at? And did you stick with the Brewers for that whole minor league grind?
The whole back and forth. So it was, I think I spent, rookie ball in Montana. The next year I went to low A. Halfway through the year, I think it was a all-star. They pushed me up to high A, which was supposed to be a little bit more friendlier pitcher league. and actually had a tough adjustment going back to the Florida State League. And I spent the following year back in High A. And it was that decision. They ended up actually putting me in the bullpen towards the second half of the year.
Okay.
And that kind of re-energized it, or something different happened, where once I went into the bullpen, I was back to my dominant self off of it.
Do you think that was maybe something like you knew that you could just come in for 1-2 innings and just dominate versus having to maybe strategically pitch over 6-7?
Yeah, I mean, the thought process of just pitching pitch to pitch was much easier.
Okay.
I think when I was starting, I would always think too much about, oh man, I got to get through the 5th inning, 6th inning.
Yeah.
I was thinking about other things rather than just trying to compete against that batter at that time.
Yeah, and that makes sense. The pitch to pitch and becoming a bullpen guy. Okay, so from there, when did you make your debut? Was it with the Brewers?
Brewers, yeah.
Okay.
So I was, we were actually, I remember the whole thing like it was yesterday off of it. I was in AAA at the time, and it was just like that. I think I've given up 1 run through the All-Star break.
Okay.
Had a pretty good idea. September call-up, I thought I was pretty much guaranteed to go up. But actually ended up getting called up before that. There's an injury up top, LaTroy Hawkins, who's a good friend to this day still. I still talk to him, even about that day. I was like, thanks for going on the DL for me, man. We were in Vegas. They pulled me aside. They said, hey, we caught you doing something last night. I was like, oh, boy. But they were just trying to pull my chain a little bit.
Yeah.
I was in the clubhouse at the time, and they told me I was going up that day. That night, flying out at 12 o'clock at night, red-eye flight to Milwaukee. First person I called was my mom. I was like, I don't even know what to do. I was freaking out. Shortly after, my brother's actually an agent with Boris Corp.
Cool.
And he goes, hey, by the way, I guess we can represent you now. So I didn't have an agent like coming up through anything like that, and they usually deal with high-profile guys. So
Yeah.
Probably why they weren't representing me. I was like, oh, thanks. I guess that. I was like, oh, all right, man. But it was cool. So flew straight to Milwaukee. It was like a 6-hour flight. I think I got in around 7, and it was a day game.
Oh, wow. Did you sleep
so
at all?
I did not.
Well, probably.
I mean, even if it was a nightgown, I'm probably not sleeping anyways.
Yeah.
With just how much energy was pumping through me and adrenaline. Since it was a day game, we were flying right out after that one. So I ended up having to throw a bullpen nice and easy towards like the 7th or 8th inning.
Okay.
Just so some of the guys could just see what I had off of it. There is a lack of communication from the big leagues to the minor leagues where sometimes you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So then right after that game, we end up flying to, I think it's Denver.
Okay.
Off of it. So I'm on a plane for the like 24 straight hours almost, it feels like.
Jeez.
And we get over there to Denver. I think the hardest adjustment when I went up there was we had Trevor Hoffman in our bullpen.
Okay.
Who is notorious for pregame preparation, minor leagues, things like that. The training side at that time really didn't exist a whole lot.
Okay.
So it was a rude awakening. I think we were running about 3 or 4 miles every day, trying to keep up with Trevor. And we're talking about he was close to 42 years old, I think, at the time, and probably the best physical shape guy that we had on the team. But it was how much work he put in, and we didn't want to let him down. So he made sure everyone in the bullpen, everything like that, like every single day, what Trevor was going to do, we were going to do.
Yeah.
And I think even when Trevor left Milwaukee, I mean, if you ever talk to anyone, he's the best teammate I think you can ever have. That tradition carried over.
Yeah.
That every day everyone was putting in extra work, more work than was probably necessary. The cool part when we're in Denver, so we're back in Denver, everything like that. The Brewers weren't that great in 2010. But somehow they were like, hey, when we get into a blowout game, when we're losing, we'll make sure you get in there. It's around day 3, I think, in Denver. It's a tied ball game in the 5th inning or 6th inning. We've run out of pitching. They're like, we hate to do this to you for your first appearance, but you're gonna have to go in. So I get in the bullpen up there in Colorado, and I don't think I threw one ball to the catcher. I think there's a nice little forest back there behind the bullpen and the water fountain, all this stuff, and I think I threw 14, 15 straight balls into the water fountain. And then they said, okay, go get them. Ran out there, and again, I went 3 innings, 3 perfect innings.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so that kind of set the stone, and they're like, fantastic, looks like you can do this. We ended up winning the ball game. We actually started winning a lot of games towards that end of the year.
Yeah.
In that 2010.
So when you back to the getting called up, right? So when y'all are in Milwaukee, what was going through your mind when you get to the field, you get to the locker room, you see your jersey? Did y'all's jerseys have your name on the back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
What was that feeling, seeing
Oh.
your name on the back?
I mean, just the discrepancy between the minor leagues and the big leagues, how everything was ready for you, just the how much different the uniforms are, how everything's tailor fitted. It's crazy. I mean, even my jersey, if I would show some of the guys in here, they're blown away about them. And this was 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just a different feel when you see one, even if it's not yours, it's something different.
Yeah. Okay, so post debut, how did you think it was going to go when you first got into that? Obviously, you probably weren't expecting to get thrown into a tie game in the 5th inning.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a prospect or anything like that, so I don't think they really had a fear. If I scuffled, there was someone else that was going to take it. But I really don't remember too much of the game.
Yeah.
Off of it, just competed. I think my first batter was Troy Tulowitzki.
Wow. Okay.
So I throw him a first pitch strike. He takes it. I was like, oh, this isn't that hard after all. Ended up striking out Troy. And I was in a position where I didn't get the scouting report or anything like that. And you're not watching Major League Baseball at the time in the minor leagues either. Mm-hmm. So my last batter was Carlos Gonzalez, and I have no idea who Carlos Gonzalez is. This is his rookie year. He's going off apparently. I just throw him a first pitch fastball down the middle, and he rolls over for a ground out. I get back in the dugout, and I think our pitching coach is like, fantastic. By the way, in a tied ball game, do not throw Carlos Gonzalez a strike. He's like, we would rather probably you walk him at that point. I was like, oh, okay. So after that, then I learned about the scouting reports, how to go through it, things like that. And that was a lot of the preparation. That was different. It was just knowing certain scenarios, what to throw, when to throw, who to pitch to, who not to pitch to, which was quite different from the minor leagues, rather just going out there and trying to get everyone out, learning the ability to control the game off of it was a pretty hard adjustment.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the best story, though, is when we first got to Denver.
Yeah.
Everything's catered for you, everything like that. You don't handle your luggage at all.
Okay.
And you have to wear a suit on the plane. So it's my first suit I'm wearing, everything like that. We get to the hotel, and I'm waiting for my bags. I was like, I don't see them. I was like, are they supposed to bring them? I go to the ballpark. I'm wearing my suit. I'm looking at everyone's wearing normal clothes. It's the following day. I'm still wearing the same suit for 3 days straight. I was like, hey, how do you get your luggage? And apparently you had to call down to bring your luggage up. So I was wearing and no one was going to tell me. They were just going to see how long I was going to wear this suit until I figured it out. That was a pretty good one. Everyone got a good chuckle of just me wearing a suit every day.
Yeah.
For the first 3 days.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I think a lot of people, we'll say normal people, right? The non-pro players that are in that environment every day. I think it's easy for us to just get caught up in the lore and the awe, a pro player, right? But we forget, they're just big kids playing baseball. Because, me right now, getting to shoot for the hooks, I've gotten to have very brief interactions and conversations with some of the guys who will ask for pictures or something, and then I'll see them in the dugout or whatever, and they're just big kids, right? And I'm at this point I'm older than most of them, so like it's funny because we get caught up in the wow, like, oh man, he's out there throwing gas, like he's gonna be a stud, and then it's like you see him in the dugout and you're like, man, I remember when I did that. Like that's so fun that they're just big kids playing baseball. So I imagine, is that the case as well?
Yeah, most of my memories that I have from playing in the minor leagues, the big leagues overseas, it's not so much about the game. It was just the guys, being around the guys, family.
Yeah.
I mean, you're around them more than you are your family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the stuff that I miss. It's just the clubhouse, the guys, everything. I mean, we had that Trevor Hoffman, who I call a friend. Like this guy, when I was 8 years old, watching him on TV, and things like that, and to call him a friend and everything like that, it becomes bizarre. Like you're scared at first, and then next thing you know, you're just talking to him about normal daily life things. Even having Prince Field, we had such a stacked team. A lot of our guys were actually from Central Florida.
Oh,
so
really?
That helped a ton. Of everyone was always giving each other crap. Even when we got Zach Greinke in 2011, Zach's notorious about being kind of an odd man.
I've heard.
Extremely odd, and he was always even like that in high school. Competitor, one of the most talented guys to have ever played the game. He would even give Prince Fielder, Ricky Weeks, all these guys. He's like, yeah, I was the best hitter in high school. It's like going back and forth, like it was like what guys normally do in high school, like talking about who was better when they were 12. And it's just stuff like that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that sounds so fun. What are some of the perks, if any, when you're in the big leagues, right? Like you said, everything's catered. You guys, I imagine, are on a private flight. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, like, what are some of the other perks that, like, you didn't realize you would get? Or
travel was much nicer. I mean, minor leagues and AAA especially, we were flying out every 3 days, and you're taking 5 a.m. flights.
Yep.
I think they changed that a bit around the last few years. They're handling the minor league guys a lot different than what they did in the past. So that was probably the easiest thing. Like, just everything's there for you. The training room, things like that. You have a hot tub, cold tub, things that you just didn't have in the minor leagues. And then food-wise, way different.
Yeah.
Like you could live in the clubhouse. I mean, you can basically eat there, breakfast, lunch, dinner. In the minor leagues, you got to prepare a lot for yourself.
Yeah.
Every single thing. And it just makes, they really do a great job at that level to just make sure that you're prepared to play the game.
Yeah.
If there's something that pops up that they haven't seen, they're going to make sure they eliminate that and make sure that you just stay focused on preparing for the game. Yeah.
I've heard a rumor. I don't know if this is true. Not about you. just in general. I heard it on the internet. Don't make fun of me, because not everything on the internet is true. I understand. I heard in this article that I read that once you're a big leaguer, you get some kind of like special pass to all the ballparks for the rest of your life. Is that a thing?
It does exist a little bit. I think every team's different. Everyone's got a different policy.
Okay.
That you can call ahead and go, hey, I used to play for XYZ. And if they do have tickets available, they'll set you up. Granted, if I probably went to Milwaukee or something, they would give me nicer seats than if I were to call the Astros.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or anything like that. And again, my brother's an agent, sports agent, so every time I need tickets or anything like that, I mean, I rarely go to games or anything like that unless I've got a good friend that's still playing or coaching. Try to catch up with them.
Cool. How long were you in the big leagues? How long were you with the Brewers? What was the rest of your career like?
Yeah, so I was called up in that 2010, finished the whole year out up there. The following season, 2011, since we finished out so strong, we made a push. We made some trades, things like that. It came down to I was that 25th man looking like I was going to break camp, and then we made a final trade the day before we took off. So I ended up being the 26th man, which just missed it by that threshold. But then competed again in AAA, got called back up a week, two later, and just kept on getting shoveled back and forth.
Okay.
I was in that weird scenario. I wasn't a short reliever, nor was I a stretched out starter either, where I could go 5 innings if something happened. I was typically pretty good to get through the lineup once, but there's not really at the time there wasn't really a role like that in the big leagues. So the situation was very specific, or if we were always down by 1 run and we didn't want to burn one of our late guys, that's how I ended up with so many wins. I think for a reliever, I ended up with 5 wins over the course of 3 years. I was 5-0, 6-0 or something like that, just because our team could hit.
Yeah,
and as long as I put up a 0, or if I even gave up a run, Prince Fielder's going to do something. Ryan Braun was going to do something.
Yeah.
So I would always sneak those wins out.
That's super cool. What was it like when you got your first big league check?
Oh, way different. Yeah. No, you look at it and it doesn't even look real. And then it's also Uncle Sam. You're like, you find out real quick. And you got cities like filing taxes is the worst part because you're filing in every state, everything like that. So you do need help to do that.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of things get thrown at you, especially since I didn't have any big league camps before, like big league spring training camps or anything. I basically just got rushed up to the big leagues at that point. So, and they do a good job in spring training telling you this information, everything like that. But I was kind of lost because I wasn't in spring training at the year before when I got called up. But it's something different.
Yeah.
And even what they do for you, even after baseball, things like that.
Okay.
How they set up, they take care of you.
Cool.
Pension wise, things like that. It's pretty cool what they offer. But after that 2013, they took me off the roster. I started scuffling a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that they would give me at least a little bit of. It was the first time I think I scuffled in the last 4 years or so, and thought I was going to get another opportunity. But became a minor league free agent.
Okay.
At the time, just because I didn't have 6 years of service or whatever. So minor league free agent, the Rockies end up offering me minor league contract, big league camp opportunity. So I ended up going over there, maybe because of my debut in Colorado. That's the only thing I can think of. And had a great time over there. Knew some guys that were over there at the time, like LaTroy Hawkins actually had just signed with the Rockies.
Okay.
So I always, me and LaTroy, we would always kind of find a way to run into each other. I love the Rockies. It was really when baseball started to change. I feel like is in that 2013 though, where everyone started throwing harder. I wasn't a very big velo guy or anything like that. I just tried to pitch to contact and get out of there. But the Rockies knew who I was and let me be me. They wanted me to do what I was good at. And had a great year over there. Never got an opportunity to pitch for them in the big leagues. AAA was right there in Colorado Springs. Not an easy place to pitch. PCL in general is not fun for pitchers, but being 6,000 feet in altitude and me being a Central Florida Corpus guy, sea level guy, that was very tough. And you're never up there. Like, you can acclimate after 2 weeks. Yeah. But you're traveling every 5 days, and so that was tough. But Colorado in general was beautiful. Yeah. That off days were the best off days in the world. Getting to see some mountain things I'd never saw when I was growing up. For sure. Was awesome. That's what I remember. After that second year with the Rockies, it looked like my career was done. Like, I was like, I don't know what I got. I was like, I wonder if I'm going to just go travel. I played with this guy in high school who he'd been in Australia for, I think, 5 or 6 years. He was actually a GM for a rugby team down there. Okay. They were just getting into, like, professional leagues. Like they've always played baseball down in Australia.
Yeah.
But they just made a fall league, an Australian league. And I called them. I was like, hey, do you have any connections about, like, I just want to go down there and just, like, I'll play a little bit, go travel the beaches. And they're only playing 3 times a week. So it was like, for me, towards the end of the career, that sounded like I think I can still play 3 times a week. Next thing you know, after that phone call, I was on a flight to Australia 2 days later.
Whoa.
Yeah. Went down there. I was in Perth. The guys were great. Beautiful spot. Like it was one of the most outstanding like places. If you ever get to travel, like
Really?
Australia should be on everyone's list. Anyways, they end up actually starting me off of it. I was like, I don't think this is a good idea, fellas. I was like, I'm starting to get old. I don't know if I can do this. But ended up throwing extremely well down there.
Awesome.
And there was a league in Taiwan, pretty still far away from Australia.
Yeah.
But they would send some of their major league guys down there in the fall to go play. They must have said something, heard something, but the following year I got to end up went to Taiwan for a year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about the Australia and Taiwan parts. Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What was it like there in Taiwan?
Taiwan was amazing. Like, it was different than the Australia. Australia was beautiful. Taiwan, I think I had the most fun playing, just because it's a so much different atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's like a show is the best way to describe it. Yeah, you got lights flashing everywhere. It's like an amusement park almost. Cool. It's so funny. It's the same game, things like that. I got a billion stories from Taiwan. I still talk to my translator. I still talk to all these guys. Our translator actually was not that great either. We knew there was some miscommunication issues off of it. Turns out he actually didn't know. Like, there's a difference between Taiwanese and Mandarin. And in public, you're speaking Mandarin. In your household, you're speaking Taiwanese, and he didn't know Mandarin. So we had no idea what was going on, but it made things fun too.
Yeah.
Of going like, we don't know what's going on, and they were only allowed 3 foreigners a team.
Oh, really?
So there's only the 3 Americans that I'm with. Were like, what do? We'll figure out a way to survive. And we spent the whole year, like, it was amazing.
That's cool.
And it's a huge baseball culture.
Yeah, I saw a video, I think yesterday, in Japan. Granted, different areas, different countries, but it was this guy hitting a home run off of Trevor Bauer, and there must have been like 60,000 people at the game, just like going crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. They're chanting nonstop. Like, in Taiwan, I think our average crowds were 20,000. You wouldn't see anything under 20,000.
Man.
And it makes it tough too, because Taiwan, there was only 4 teams in the league.
Okay.
And you still are playing 160 games.
Really?
Yes. So it gets a little strange after a bit, seeing the same guys over and over and over. You might start against the same team 5 times in a row, where it just becomes what I thought is just being a master of executing what you need to.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, by then you don't need scouting reports, anything like that. It was more of a game about yourself of just trying to execute.
What was the travel like with those 4 teams? Because you're only playing 3 teams for all.
Only playing 3 teams, and it's still a pretty big island. Travel-wise, there's still 12 parks, so you're actually going different. You're traveling all over Taiwan.
That's cool.
For like 3 days at a time. Travel, it was just like the big leagues.
Okay.
Like, they took care of everything. No flights, but they had like a speed train, a bullet train.
Okay.
So we could get on one side of the island to the other in a matter of an hour and a half.
Okay.
If you were to take a bus, it would take you 8 hours.
Gotcha.
So they always did a nice job making sure, hey, if you're not starting, or you got 2 options. You want to watch this game and take the 8-hour bus, or they were very, very, they did a great job taking care of us and said, hey, leave this game, make sure you get on the high-speed train before to get out of here.
That's really cool.
It was amazing. Extremely hot. That was the thing that was tough to adjust to.
Hotter than Texas?
Oh, way hotter than Texas.
Whoa.
The hottest, like, you walk outside and you start sweating. Like, we had to have 2 uniform sets. One to warm up in, and then one to play the game in.
Because you're just drenched.
Oh, it is, yeah. Even getting through warm-ups, like you're throwing shirtless bullpens like in the undercover thing.
Wow.
Just to try to find a way to cool off.
Yeah. You said you were only over there for a year?
Yeah, year. I thought it was only going to be 6 months, things like that. But again, mistranslation. And we had typhoons that came through there.
Okay.
Like basically hurricanes. Like 4 big ones actually came through.
Yeah.
And so it just kept on delaying the season. Like our All-Star break's 3 days. Theirs is 2 weeks apparently.
Wow.
So it was a lot of weird stuff like that. It's the same game, but schedule-wise, it's a little bit structured differently.
Did you know at the end of that year that you weren't going to go back?
I put up a good year. Yeah, I think I was MVP of the month over there, like three out of the 7 months, things
Okay.
like that. Thought I would have an opportunity to go back, but my stuff started deteriorating pretty quick over there. Like I was still starting at the time again, like towards the end of my career.
Yeah.
And I was having harder and harder time bouncing back, recovering. We didn't have the science what's available to us. I didn't meet Jeff until after this thing, which is very frustrating to see how he changed my life, what I'm allowed to do because of Jeff giving to these guys, teaching them how to recover, teaching them basically to be more efficient, to last longer, so they're not scuffling and dying towards the end of the day or end of the outing.
Yeah. At that point in your career, after that year, how old were you?
Oh man, I don't even know how old I am now. I was probably, I'd say 32.
Okay.
I think, yeah. I've been in here 8 years, so probably 31. Yeah, 31,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
Cool. So when you came back to America, what'd you do?
At first, just try to get a time off. Like after playing baseball, so I was in the minor leagues, big leagues, traveling. It was 10 years of baseball. Going, I don't know, I'm losing my mind. I need to get away from everything. And it was basically probably a month and a half off before I met Jeff and talking to him every day.
Okay.
And got right back into it after that.
And when you came back, when you're in that time off, were you here in Corpus?
Yeah, I was here in Corpus.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Cool. So you met Jeff, and then you were asking questions.
Yeah, I had that month and a half off of baseball for the first time in that 10 years, and then went right back into it. And think of the only time I've ever missed a few days in here is when COVID came through, and everything. We had to shut down for a few weeks off of it. That was my last break from baseball.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you've been training guys since then?
Since then, yeah.
Okay.
And it's, like I said, if it was pitching, I think I would still be losing my mind. But the ability to be working on the body, hips, trunk, torso, so many things we can work on not throwing, where it keeps it very entertaining for me still to this day. Like I'm still learning things every single day that we're going to have someone that's going to move different from someone else, and learning from them, how they do it, how we can get them to make adjustments. It's crazy how we're able to communicate with the new ball player these days.
Yeah.
And it's fun watching them. Even I think the first year of training, it was amazing to watch high school guys with better stuff that I ever had in my entire life. And watching that. And I told you, I got addicted to training, like trying to get better every day in my routine when I was in college. And I think it's the same thing when you see these guys get better. Whether it's velocity, whether it's how they're moving, health-wise, are they executing it at the field? I get addicted to that when they perform or do something better. It's just like I did it for myself.
Yeah, that's really cool. Obviously, living in Corpus, we're a baseball town. We know our place. To you, what's it like seeing the level of competition around here and getting to know some of the guys and train them? As far as like the satisfaction of when you see the guys that you work with go out and just they're visibly better, and that shows in their performance. So what's your just opinion on getting to train the guys competing as well as the level of competition here in the Coastal Bend?
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. The whole area. And then when I first moved down here, I didn't know it was nearly as big of a baseball town as it was. But then meeting some of the guys that were playing, like Rudy Flores, things like that. all those Moody guys, Michael Franco, things like that. They were in high school when I was actually down here, and watching those guys compete, just going like, wow, these guys are way better than the guys in Central Florida. Things like that. Just like it was a different game that was played. They not only were they training and competing, but they were the full ball player. How much they I think guys just play more when they're younger down here.
Yeah.
And their ability to play the ball game and execute is so much different than out of town or out of South Texas area.
Yeah. Are you a supporter of the idea that kids, regardless of I guess more so at a younger age, that they should not specialize in one sport?
Yeah, I'm not big into specialization off of it. I still like guys playing everything.
Yeah.
I think some of the top guys really don't get it together in high school until that when they're about that 16 years old, going into junior year or whatnot, where you got to start zoning in. Position-wise, I don't think it's close until the end of the senior year, anything like that, going, okay, we need to start working position specific towards that side. But our best athletes that I've gotten to train are definitely the multi-sport guys.
Yeah.
They're able to execute a lot of different patterns. My typical guy that I hate is the guy that's been the PO since he was 10. It's very hard to make the adjustment with him. It still can be done. It's just you got to give him a lot more physical work, more dynamic stuff to balance it out.
Definitely. So let the viewers know, the parents or the athletes, if they were interested in coming to train, what does that look like? Do they just need to call you up? Are you on, if they Google, baseball training, are you going to pop up? How would they find you? And how would they book a training session with you?
Yeah, usually, I'm on Twitter, Facebook. Usually, even we have the SFS website that has a lot of the information on there. Summer-wise, it's a little bit crazy. I don't think it's fairly jammed right now.
Yeah.
Just with how the schedule's designed off it, I think I never have my phone on me when I'm training. And then the rough part of the summers, I think I'm in here 10 hours straight almost every single day.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I try to get to the phone messages that I see, but I miss a ton of them. And I try to get to it as much as I can. At night, usually I'm just drained. In the morning, I get 30 minutes before I have to get rolling. So it is a small window that I can get back. And that's what I don't like about the summers. It's just tough. Come school time, training-wise, it's a little bit more lenient that I can manage the schedule. It's just tough. Summer-wise, like I said, no one's on the same team. Yeah. Everyone's schedule is different, so it's a lot of moving guys back and forth that are in here right now. So if I haven't gotten back to you, I will one day. It just, as soon as these guys go back to school, life gets a little bit easier for me to manage that stuff. It's pretty much a one-man show. Yeah. That I've got to do all the scheduling, financial stuff, and training. It gets a little taxing. I probably should need help with a lot of that stuff because if I did that, I'm good on the training side. I am bad on the business side.
Okay.
So it's just tough to organize everything for me on that level. And I would rather have someone else handle that stuff and me just worry about what I'm good at.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I totally get that side of it, running a business as well. Yeah. It's really hard to do everything. And make time for everything, especially when you have a 10-hour day. Yeah. I'm going to ask your thoughts on Blake Mitchell. We were at his draft party this past Sunday. He went 8th overall to the Royals. As far as a ball player, is he like the complete ball player? What describe him and from your opinion?
I would. We've had 2 first-rounders. Jared was that second-rounder.
Yeah.
Kelly, 2 different ball players. Jared, raw power. Just a machine, made it look easy. Blake is 100%. Both those guys are some of the most talented guys I've ever seen in my lifetime, even playing in the big leagues. Yeah. Both of those guys, I couldn't compare them to anyone. Blake, athleticism is just through the roof.
Yes.
So coachable, things like that. If he listens to everyone too. Just different mentality of being able, when you tell him something, he can do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was fortunate to work with him for 2 years, but I don't think I did anything. Like he was probably the most boring guy to work with because you just tell him to do it, and he does it. I like the guy that like, I can't do it. What do you mean? And then have to teach him how to do it. That's fun for me. Blake was just Blake. He was just, you tell him, they're like, okay, I didn't do anything. I feel like I did nothing. So it's a testament to his family, how he grew up, what he did. I mean, I've got probably more questions for Blake and Kevin than what they would ever ask me.
Yeah.
Like, how did you create this human that can move like this, that can apply it to the field?
Yeah.
To the mound. I was like, the first time I think he was coming out of his freshman year, he went through this. I look at Kevin, I was like, Kevin, we got to go outside right now and throw a bullpen. I think he's a pitcher. And he went out there, threw a pen, he's throwing 91, and I was like, just tell your summer ball coaches you can just like throw one inning. Like, and sure enough, like, and he just got, you don't see it every day when guys get bigger and stronger that they move better.
Yeah.
And he did. Every year he got better, he moved better, and it was crazy watching him grow up.
Yeah, I remember their freshman season got cut short there at Sinton because of COVID, just like everyone's. But I really didn't hear his name until sophomore year. That year that they made it to state and they beat Cal Allen in the regional final the first time. My former coach, Mike Trevino, his son Daniel, I played with his older brother, oldest son, Derek.
Yeah.
So Mike and I go way back. They're awesome.
Yeah.
And like I spent my whole travel career with Mike.
Yeah.
And so I know them really well. Like, love those guys. I would go to the Sinton games because I knew Daniel and I heard Sinton was gonna be really good. Like I was like, all right, like cool. Like I'm excited. I'll go check it out. And then Mike told me, he's like, remember this Blake Mitchell kid?
Yeah.
Like, keep an eye on him.
Yes.
And I was like, okay. And I could see it. I think, like having watched the last 3 years of him and his senior year, now that it's complete, he's been drafted. He's the best high school athlete I've ever seen. And I think he is the product of when skill and talent meets athleticism and work ethic.
Yes.
Like that's what you get.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of what you can't control a lot of these aspects in a game. You can do it beforehand.
Yeah.
Your routine, your warm up. You can go watch him at a practice and he'll be there early. He'll be there hour and a half early going through his routine. His preparation before he even starts doing anything is top notch. Like you said, his athletics, all these things that you see is just right there, and it will transition into pro ball. How they're going to use them, that'll be fun. Like, what do you do with a guy like that? Like, it's harder for the Royals than I think it'll be for Blake in the minor league, trying to figure out how to utilize all of his assets because he's got too many.
Yeah.
Like, how do you pinpoint it? How do you structure it? I mean, you can look at like an Ohtani, but he was 21, 22, 20. He was a little bit older. How do you structure that for an 18, 19-year-old kid of balancing everything out? That's a tough job for the Royals coming up.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be exciting to watch. For sure.
It'd be fun, easy for Blake.
Yeah.
But tough for the Royals. What their decisions, how they're going to use them.
Yeah. Are you training any guys right now that just have like some serious potential? That you think they're just going to have a great year, whether it's in high school or they're in college, or maybe, like Jared and Blake in the pros. We'll start with the high school level. What are some guys that you're training? Who are some guys? Yeah,
the high school guys, I'd say anyone off the charts like those two, those guys were just different too.
Yeah.
It's very rare to even see one of those guys in your lifetime. It's crazy that there's been two in a short period window. I'm not chasing a whole lot of. We're not trying to chase the top end.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, the things that the guys do really well in here off of it is just making sure they're doing it better every single day.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can control. If they set their goal on a velocity marker or something like that, they're chasing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
They need to just be chasing themselves. It's tough because you got to compare yourself a little bit, like, going to those showcases, kind of measuring up a little bit, but that's not the end all be all.
Yep.
There's too many guys like myself that the awakening doesn't happen until later on in life and figuring out what work is. It's tough to say who's going to blow up, who's going to do that. There's talented guys, projectable guys, like Blaine Line. Let's take him, for instance. You got this big frame, things like that one day when he puts on some size, some weight, what is he going to look like?
Yeah.
Because it's electric now, what he can do and his frame-wise. And he's really just held himself accountable. He is so much different year to year. His freshman year, his sophomore year, his junior year. Watching him develop has been fun because you see it out of him pretty easy. I mean, I think the first time I met him when he was in 8th grade, he broke his foot running down to first base. Not the most athletic guy in the world. Like, it was one of those, my arch nemesis, the PO that you see when he's a young kid. And really just working with him, he's a lot of fun, a great kid, like human, just fun to work with, fun to be around, fun. Like, he'll talk to anyone too. He's always one of those guys, like Larissa, that like someone walks by, he's gonna get a hold of you, and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Javier had one question he wanted me to ask specifically. Let me pull it up so I don't misphrase it. Let's see. He said, how does it feel to be with a sportscaster?
Schedule-wise, it works awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a great human. She's so fun. She cares more about the kids than I think I do. Like, I think I care about kids. You should just listen to her talk about it. It's amazing. It's so much fun to watch her at night. Like, her favorite season's coming up, football.
Oh, really?
So you'll see another little gear when she's just running up and down the sidelines with her camera. That's when she has definitely the most fun.
Yeah.
With everything. I get home around 10. She goes on air about 10:30.
Yep.
So schedule-wise, it's a perfect fit. She's just. I couldn't say enough positive things.
That's awesome.
About her.
For the people who might not know, you're dating. Is that right?
Dating.
Larissa Liska. Say that right? She's the sports reporter, anchor, director, probably.
Yeah, sports director over
there
at Channel 6.
Yeah, Channel 6 at Chris 6 here in Corpus. So she's at all the athletic events. So,
yeah, she's one of a kind.
Yeah.
If you do meet her, you'll know right away who she is.
She's great. I see her all the time. I would see her on the island at our stuff whenever I work there. I don't work at the island anymore, if you didn't know that. I just do primarily freelance stuff now. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, it's like I said, it's one of those things that I love to this day, that we get to work with guys and just addicted to watching them do it. It's very rare you'll catch me at a game because I think I freak out more than parents.
Really?
When they're playing. I have a tough time holding it together, watching them compete.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I always feel like I could have done something different. I could have prepared them more, and it bugs me. What you will catch me, you'll probably catch me before the game watching them warm up. That's what I can watch. That's what I try to make sure I hone in on the guys, is I want them taking pride in what they do early.
Yeah.
Sure. And when you go play, go have fun. You got to have fun doing it, and building relationships in the game. For me, it wasn't about playing baseball. It was being with the guys, being in that opportunity, being a grown man, 31-year-old still playing, getting to hang out with the teammates, the friends, the family. Those connections you miss the most when you're done playing.
Yeah, I imagine. Well, I don't have anything on my end, so Mike, it's been a pleasure. This was a fun conversation. I learned a lot. We're happy to have you on anytime in the future, maybe when Javier's not in Tomball playing baseball with his guys or coaching with his guys, but I get it. I understand the grind. I did the life myself for 12, 13 years, however long.
You guys been killing it. You guys do an amazing job promoting the athletes. the guys, the whole area, what you guys do, and what you guys are building right now.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to watch you guys.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking to be on here, but
Yeah.
fun to watch you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Go through everything. I probably won't watch this one.
We'll make sure that the link to the gym here is in the description and the website and stuff like that. We'll drop your Twitter handle as well and your Facebook, so that way people know to get a hold of you. But yeah, thanks for being on. It was a pleasure, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Yep. No, appreciate it.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.